उहाँका दुई शब्द आज हामी कता के गर्दैछौँ त?
अब यहाँ चाहिँ यो ट्रेनमा घुम्दैछौँ। यहाँ सेन्ट
अगस्टिन
चाहिँ यो बिचमा आएको छौँ। बडा रमाइलो यो ट्रेन भइरहेको छ।
हजुर
हाम्रो सानो मान्छे कति रमाइलो भइरहेको
ल बुवा ल।
But I drove one final fort fact for you folks. The most epic battle ever happened right here on this fort lawn. This battle lasted only 2 hours. In that 2-hour time span, there were 0 casualties on either side. According to our local physician, around 12 were injured. Wow. They all have frostbite, primarily impacting their fingertips. That's because it snowed here back in 1977. A group of high schoolers had the most epic snowball fight ever there on the fort lawn. Lasted 2 hours until the sun came up. When the sun rose, temperatures rose with it, causing that snow to melt. That same year, we is known for south as Miami. So yes, sometimes we do get snow here in Florida, believe it or not. And as we leave the old city, we pass by the city gates again. My all-time favorite photo of our city is a black and white photo of those city gates. In front of them is a man in a chariot. Given this is the state of Florida, that chariot was being pulled by an alligator. That is a real photo you can find online. Google St. Augustine City of alligator. It should come right up. At the other far end of the plaza, this next one coming up, this one is a statue of Ponce de Leon. He discovered the Florida East Coast, like I mentioned earlier, back in 1513. I usually describe Ponce de Leon as a fun little guy, folks. Not kidding. The statue you see coming up, it is a life-size statue of the man. He only grew to be around 4'11". Before you giggle, they were a lot shorter back then. You're looking at average height. I will say though, he had a very strict rule on his boat. If you grew taller than he did, you did not board. Folks, I am very proud to say with 2 inches to spare, I was staying right here on dry land. But enough of the short things in town. The tall building coming up, that was our Treasury building. Completed back in 1928, one of the worst years for a Treasury building to be completed, with the Great Depression hitting us in the 30s, and that being our only quote-unquote skyscraper. People who hated this building, they thought it was ugly, bad luck, stuck out too much, hated so much that as a city, we passed legislation saying we can't build more skyscrapers. To this day, that is still our only one. Their neighbor will be our Cathedral Basilica, St. Augustine of Florida. If you've been to New York City or know of St. Patrick's Cathedral, same man. To the interior design for ours here. This is debated to be the oldest Catholic church in our nation. They've not always had this one building in particular. We were burned down quite a few times, but this congregation has consistently been meeting here, building or not, since our founding back in 1565. I mentioned that St. George Street, that's Alpar Plaza, next to the cathedral is where it does just that. And as we continue around, we'll go by our governor's house. At first called House of the Governors. We were the first capital here in the state of Florida. That's now out west in Tallahassee. Our governors, their families, their associates, their families all worked and lived out of this home right here. We are going underneath their balcony here, facing the plaza. They would use that to address the citizens in the square. Last used for that purpose, go by the fish camp, look behind it in the water. You will was new, expensive, and unreliable. They did not use it. Instead, the fishermen, they came down the road here to the building with the green trim at the time. This was our ice plant. The fishermen, they went right there. They got their ice, took that with some fish back to the market. Most homes still had ice boxes. They came here as well. And of course, Flagler's hotels, like all the ice plants here too. On the topic of Flagler, we do need to discuss the railroad. Flagler is the reason why we are on a train right now. The railroad followed Flagler down to Florida. Now at first, they only ran during the daytime. Flagler wanted them to extend their hours after dark, so people would come here and see the city all lit up. But like I said, the electricity was brand new. So Flagler, he went to the railroad company and he asked them to start running at night. They told Henry Flagler, no. And I'm not sure if you've noticed a trend or not here throughout the tour. No was not something you said to Henry Morrison Flagler. Henry Flagler was incredibly rich. Henry Flagler was incredibly petty. So Henry Flagler, he bought that railroad company in its entirety. And believe it or not, they started to run at night. To this day, that is a Florida East Coast Railway. Under Flagler went from Maine all the way down to Key West with their headquarters here in town. It was hit with a bad hurricane back in the late 1800s down from Maine down to Miami. What used to be the headquarters, now housing for the college. And I'll point those out here in just a moment. Believe it or not, folks, this is not the bumptiest road in the city. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But when Flagler's trains got here, do any of you know where they would have stopped? The train station, New York, Pennsylvania. Who got the chocolate business? Unheard of. I know. He started off with ice cream and fudge. He found himself down Walt Disney World when they opened up over 50 years ago. But we will take a step back to that depot. People, they would get off their trains there, of course. They would go down this road right here to get to their hotels. These were Flagler's friends. They had a lot of money. They weren't walking all that way. Instead, they would hitch a ride with the St. Augustine Transfer Company, a horse and carriage company owned and operated by the Cooley family here for 4 generations. We passed by George Cooley's home earlier on. Once we are able to turn, we'll go by the old Cooley barns. But as time went on, cars became a thing. People no longer needed the carriages to be their taxis. Instead, they turned into a sightseeing tour business. You will see horse and carriages in the tours even to the day, but the Cooley family eventually swapped their horses for trains. And what you're on right now is the direct descendant of that transfer company. So, a little tidbit I don't often get to share with folks. As we do turn, the old Cooley barns are coming up on our left. They're big, they're navy, they're the only barns we'll pass, so you really can't miss them. Horse and carriages, they would follow around. We just took to that depot to pick you up and take you into town. Before we pass by them, we'll go by this brick building here. This was a Cuban cigar factory. Flagler, like this guest, had freshly rolled cigars waiting their hotels. They would have been made right here. And get the barns on our left. Their neighbor again, the ice glass one, also out at 5. They took Fiance parking. They're also family friendly. Little ones there get lemonade. But we'll swing back through Lincolnville. Meeting dentist here by the name of Dr. Robert Healing. Dr. Healing was a prominent civil rights leader in the area. If you take this road all the way down, it does dead into a park named after here in Lincolnville, 1963. These teenagers wanted to stage a sit-in at the local Woolworths. They thought it was unfair they could not be served at their lunch counter. Dr. Hanlon did support their idea, but he did warn the teenagers, should they follow through, there was a good chance that they would get hurt and arrested. The teenagers, they knew the risk already. They did follow through with their sit-in. They were hurt and arrested. They're now known here as the St. Augustine 4. Now this Dr. Hanlon's been one of, if not the most important phone call of his career to his good friend, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King came here the following spring. He led a few marches down the road coming up ahead of us. You'll see we have renamed the road in honor of the man. It makes one of only a few streets here in the nation named after Dr. King that he ever marched down multiple times. During his stay here, Dr. King, he didn't stay here in Lincolnville. For his own safety, stayed in a different home every single night. We'll pass by one of those homes here in just a moment. It is the last house on the right, the White House with the red trim. There is a photo of Dr. King signing their family Bible. That Bible is still inside the home. It is owned by that same family. In fact, the homeowner here, Miss Forrest Mason, back in June, she turned 101. Her next door neighbor was Dr. Hanlon, who visited his office, now home to the Ford Civil Rights Museum. Both locations are stops on our Freedom Trail. That's around 7 miles for you to explore. More information found online or in person at our visitor center or right there at the Civil Rights Museum. And it is hard to see from the road here. 3 homes in directly ahead of us. It is rumored that Al Capone would stay there. It's said that he would go up the road to the Alcazar to gamble. A while back, somebody asked if it was legal for the man to do so. And I said, sir, this is Al Capone we're talking about. I don't think he really cared. But we are heading up the other end of the Alcazar. A little bit funny. Considering Blackler, he did not build this coming up. Instead, Franklin Smith from the Bees Radar, he built this. When Blackler found out that his good friend was going into the hotel business, Blackler was not happy. He liked his monopoly, and he told Smith if he followed through, that they would not be friends anymore. Franklin Smith said, okay, and he built this hotel, and that was that. What Smith failed to realize was that they had this conversation before he got all of his furniture in. He was waiting on some to arrive so he could open up. That furniture never arrived. And of course was traveling down the Florida East Coast Railway, owned and operated by Henry Blackler. The train with the furniture, it went missing, as trains do. And Blackler had no idea what happened to it. Oh no, Smith couldn't open. He started to lose money, and eventually Franklin Smith went bankrupt. Womp womp. Not a fun time for Franklin Smith now. But this is my top coquina. Coquina is the Spanish word for little shell, exactly what they're made out of. Coquina here, it's incredibly durable, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. These gates, it was the only way in and out of our city. We were surrounded then by our city wall. You can see a recreation of the wall here. With it, I can read your minds. You're thinking 2 things first. Best tour guide ever. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Hitler did not want other church bells interrupting. A few things for safety. Please keep all of your bodies inside my train. Don't stand up and secure your belongings. But before we get going, we will start right here. This is our Ripley's Believe It or Not. But believe it or not, this hasn't always been a believe it or not. This was built in 1887 by a Mr. William Warden. He was a silent partner in Standard Oil, that's ExxonMobil today. He had a little bit of money. This was his vacation home for his family of roughly 13. Nannies included 20 vacationed here. For those 20, they all shared one bathroom. Folks, this is 1887. That was over in Puerto Rico. You can get it on other places worldwide, but a very, very small trace amounts. Nothing that can be done with it there, like we have here. The only reason why the British ever had control here, it's not because they captured us. It's that they captured Havana down in Cuba. Havana was a lot more valuable to the Spanish than we were. So I get that back. They simply traded us. Across the bay, we do have Anastasia Island. Up to the north, we have Milano Beach. Keep those names in mind. They'll come into play a little bit later on the tour. And in a moment, we will be turning on to High Colony Street. This is part of the original city plan that was drawn up by the Spanish. That being said, the roads you'll see here, these are incredibly narrow. This is by design. It is not because we ran out of space here. All Spanish cities, they share this design. The narrow roads, they pick up the sea breeze off the. This too was intentional in the English, the French, and the pirates all trying to take over. The windy roads have slowed down any cannon fire or musket fire being shot to our city during time of attack. Coming up on the right here, behind the pink wall, we have our Spanish gardens. In the center of the gardens, we have a statue of Queen Isabella. She funded Columbus's excursions. You see her riding her burro. The gardens are here with St. George Street. St. George Street starts down at our city gates.